Welcome everyone to Wise Lives. We are here. It is ridiculously hot outside. I don't know where you are today. We're sitting in my front room. My name's Nick Allen. I'm the pastor at the Well Church in Sheffield. You guys want to say who you are?
Yeah, I'm Duncan. I'm the associate pastor at the Well, Sheffield.
Cool.
I'm Anna. I'm married to Duncan. I give my time to the Well, but also give my time to looking after our little boy Levi.
That's brilliant. So, hey, we're going to start a podcast.
Is it a podcast, though? Because we're going to record it as well. So, is it a show?
Or is it a vlog?
A showcast? A pod show?
A vlog?
I said vlog.
You
I
said
feel like
that
a
already.
vlog's just like one person, though.
Vodcast.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing.
Anyway, we are we. We are us.
You get the hang of it.
But we're here.
And hopefully the idea is that we invite you guys into a conversation. I'm sure in weeks to come we'll pick up on other people's comments and feedback, but also you can leave messages and so on. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we want to have conversations about the radical Christian life, the Christian life lived to the max.
It's like Pepsi Max. That's all that's going through my head right now.
No product placement.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So I mean, we called it Wise Lives.
Yes.
Because you want to live. Most people want to live a life that has impact on the world, that makes a difference, that leaves an impact for Jesus. We're all passionate about Jesus. I don't know if any of us would call ourselves wise, particularly. Maybe.
There's a little bit of wisdom in there, but not really.
I think there's a little bit of life wisdom that we've picked up along the way, and so we thought we would throw it around and try and share it with us first of all, and with each other.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So I guess really we want to have conversations, don't we? Like amongst ourselves, we want to have conversations with other people that we see who are seeking to live following after Jesus, who know him, who have something that can encourage us, that can inspire us, can stir hunger in us. I guess we're making the assumption as listeners that you actually also have a desire to want to know Jesus and to follow him. And we just want it to be real. We're kind of normal-ish people. Yeah.
People will make their own judgments on that as time passes.
Props.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think...
Awkward pause.
Awkward pause, it was only a millisecond. What do you think, Hannah, about what we're saying?
I think I don't even know. Yeah. No, I do. We are here to... we just want to chat really about what it means to love Jesus with our whole hearts, our minds and our strength, and to love our neighbour as ourselves. Like what it looks like to love Jesus and follow him in just the everyday.
Yeah.
Like today I've been vomited on by a baby about 10 minutes ago, and that's normal life. And what does it look like for me to love Jesus radically with my whole heart and love my neighbour whilst like loving my son and being a stay-at-home mum? Like we all come from different places. We know that all of you come from different places. If some are in the workplace, some are looking after kids at home, like wherever you are, whatever you're doing, we want to love Jesus, don't we? And we want to follow him with our whole hearts. And I think it's always good to be encouraged in how we can do that, and be encouraged by others that are living that life as well, and that can be examples to us.
Yes, and thankfully we know quite a lot of people like that around the world, and people come into our orbit. We happen to live in Sheffield at the moment, but we interact with people from all over the world as followers of Jesus Church here. So hopefully we'll get in people to talk about that kind of thing. About, guys, we feel like you're ahead of us in this, that, and the other, or your life is something that I would like to imitate. Can you just? I guess it's getting behind the surface a bit, isn't it? And going into the kind of chats that you have after hours, where you have a glass of wine or fizzy beverage, and you just
Love a good fizzy beverage.
I love a good fizzy beverage.
Better.
Beverage. Try saying
Christian
that after
wine.
a glass of wine. And you just talk about it, and hopefully we'll get below the surface and understand why it is that people are living the way they are. How is it that you guys were so passionate or so sold out, and how can I live like that? And I think for us, it's the 21st century. It's not always easy to live in this culture as a sold out follower of Jesus, and I think it would be great to explore that in our pod show in Wise Lives. Let's explore how do you live a kingdom life in the 21st century culture. With sometimes the culture helps us to do that, sometimes it really hinders us to do that, and we have to work hard at following Jesus and not following culture.
Yeah.
So these are fantastic opportunities to talk it through, and to hear from our people who watch and listen to us about what does contemporary culture mean for following Jesus today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but there's so many people who are sharing things about Jesus and about who he is, about just life with him. But in all honesty, there's so much stuff out there, you don't know where to begin half the time. What I personally am really interested in is hearing from people who aren't just talking about it, but are doing something with it.
Right.
Let's go. I mean, let's just jump straight in. So, like Jesus said, didn't he, in John 8, he said, those who keep my commands are truly my disciples. When you've done that, when you truly keep my commands, he says, then you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And Jesus himself, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Truth. So to know the truth is to know Jesus. So if we want to know Jesus, it actually requires us being obedient to his commands. So I'm interested in hearing stories from people who are actually seeking, out of love, knowing who Jesus is, to some extent, to allow their lives to be shaped around his teaching and to see fruitfulness from that. And I want to learn from that, because they're the people who Jesus tells us we can actually truly get to know him. So, yeah.
Wow. And we know some people like that.
Yeah.
And they're inspiring. And I guess that's why it's Wise Lives, because there are plenty of examples that we can follow. There are plenty of blogs or vloggers out there, but they don't all actually share wisdom for real life. And I think we all want to just learn how do you live well is one of the biggest questions in life. I can remember in my 20s thinking, there's opportunities ahead, but what does the wise life look like? What is the how do I live well for the rest of my life? What foundations am I trying to build it on? And as you say, Jesus said, well, basically, follow me. Do put into action what I've taught and done, and my model for life, and you'll live that kind of a wise life. It might not look like the most celebrity life, or even the richest life or whatever, but actually there'll be a level of richness that comes. So I want to ask you guys some questions in a few minutes about that kind of a life and your experience. I was going to say, guys, if you want to interact with us, you can follow us. You can visit wiselives.co.uk for our website. There are links there both to the audio podcast and the video links of this. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and I should imagine other social media outlets are available. So do interact, leave us some messages at the end of these episodes, or just email direct in through the website. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your challenges. What does it mean to follow Jesus in the 21st century? Really follow him, do what he says, and put it into practice. And let's get the conversation going.
Yeah.
All right. So I was going to ask you guys some questions. So we know each other because we happen to be in Sheffield at this time of life. It's 2019. And so we work together a little bit. We doing a bit of life together. We're getting to know your lovely young son. You guys are getting to know. I've got 3 children at the moment. And then more coming. Okay, I've got 3 children. That's fine. So just tell us a little bit. You came to Sheffield about a year ago.
Yeah.
What were you doing before that?
Before that, I just got the look. Before that, we were unemployed for a fair few months. Before that, we were on and off out in Mozambique for about 3.5 years, where we were working with a missions movement called Iris Global. So a couple called Heidi and Roland Baker, who are an American missionary couple. Missionary, we'll talk about that one day.
Yeah, that's
about
a
what
good
that means.
word.
Yeah, but anyway, we use this language, don't we? But anyway, they were guys who were Americans who felt called to Mozambique. They've been living there about 25 years now. My goodness, like when they first went there, it was 99.9% other faith, whether that was sort of animistic stuff or other organised sort of faith and religious kind of structures. And in the however long I think 15 years they've now been up in the north of the country, that the entire state and region that they live in now is over 50% having faith in Jesus and knowing him. That right there should show that something is happening.
It's possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we were living in a context where not only people were coming to discover Jesus in personal relationship, but we're seeing the supernatural in the most amazing ways. So, dead people being raised to life, food physically being multiplied, the deaf hearing, the blind seeing.
And you guys saw this, did you? You witnessed that?
In part, yeah. I mean, I personally didn't see any dead people being raised.
Yeah.
But we did. We saw the blind see. We saw the deaf hear. We saw the lame walk. It was
just like in the Bible, right?
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. That was awkward. We said, "Come on" at the same time.
No, I think that's good. That means we all agree with each other. It's an exciting thing. Come on. Yeah. So okay, so you So one of the things that I excites me about hanging out with you guys and having these conversations is that you have seen some of those things that I've seen. Some of that stuff I've experienced in my life as well. Others of it I've just read on the pages of Acts, and I thought, wow, or the life of Jesus. And I thought, I want to do that. I want to live the kind of life that I see. I don't just proclaim the message of God, but I display the signs and wonders and the breakthrough power of God as well. So you guys moved out there. How old were you? What happened then? You just sell up and move? Was it like that?
Yeah, so we were living in Cheltenham. We were both working for a church in Cheltenham, doing youth ministry and student ministry, and both of us had previous visits out to Africa and to Mozambique. Okay. And to Iris Global. So that's how we knew of Heidi and Roland Baker and the ministry school there. And I'd actually been on the Harvest Mission School, which is the mission school that they run, years and years before. And but we were working for a church. We'd moved to Cheltenham. We thought that we're going to be here at least 5 years. Our plan in the natural was we're going to settle down here. We're going to buy a house. We're going to have kids. We're going to kind of step on the train that lots of people kind of the conveyor belt that lots of people go round on, these are the things we're going to do: buy a house, settle down, have children, la 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 la. God had very other ideas. We were there for 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah, and during that time, people would come up to us and ask. It was a Church of England church. They'd come and say, "Well, are you going to be ordained in the Church of England, specifically to you? Are you going to become a church leader?" And we were like, "Oh, we should probably pray and ask Jesus what he's really wanting for us in this season." And Jesus very clearly said, "No, that's not the route that I want you both to go down." And when Jesus gives you a very clear no about something, my automatic response is, "Well, what is next for us? Like, what are you asking us to do?" And he, through different people and through words from different people, very clearly just began to show us that he was calling us to go back out to Africa, to Mozambique, and to attend the Harvest Mission School together as a married couple. And so we went to a conference in Ireland, and God really confirmed that through a number of people that didn't know us. Like, people were coming up to us saying, "We have pictures of you with suitcases." God saying, "It's time to pack your bags, it's time to go now." Like, people literally speaking over us, "Go to the nations, go now." Like, and we're like, now, or like, God says like the day is like 1,000 years, and I'm like, is this like immediate now, or like next year? So we kind of went back, shared with our pastors. We were very, very open, very kind of honest with them about what God was saying to us, and they were very supportive. We're like, "We feel like God is saying this too. We need to know if you're going to go this year or next year," and gave us like 24 hours
pretty much, yeah,
to hear God about whether it was this year or next year. And so we took some time out and prayed, and God again sent a very clear word that it was to go that year. Right. So we handed our notice by the end of that week.
Yeah. Oh, so you didn't hang around. No, so that's the sort of thing I'd love to talk about another time. We'll get you guys just to unpack. How do you hear from God?
Yeah.
How do you actually make godly decisions? So it sounds like you eventually made a quick decision there, but actually there was all this process that went before it.
It had been months.
Oh yeah,
come on. Speaking.
Trying to hear God speak in different ways, weighing it up carefully, processing it with other people, all that kind of stuff. That's a wise life right there. Some, I think so. Not everybody takes decisions that way, and we want to follow God. But so you guys heard from God, and then you were brave enough to hand your notice in. And how long did it? What happened?
Well, when we handed our notice, we didn't even know that we'd been accepted to the school.
Nope.
So, and they filled both of our jobs before we'd even heard from Iris that we were accepted to the school. So we were like, God's cut off our escape route.
So that was terrifying.
Yeah.
No job, with a mortgage to pay, no school to go to, which we thought we'd been told to go to. And you're like, we know you've told us this, Jesus, but this, if we're being honest, is slightly terrifying.
Right, so you're on to the adventure stage of things.
Yeah. But literally, we just saw God do loads of miracles in the weeks up until going. Like, we got accepted onto the school. We found people to live in our house. Like, even little things like we had no boxes to pack our stuff. We realised we needed to pack up the house like the next day. Realised we hadn't even sorted moving boxes. You put a message on Facebook asking if anybody had boxes. A guy came back and said, "Oh, just so happens I have loads." Anna, he's not local to.
It's about 2 hours away. Plus 3 hours away.
He was like, "Just so happens I've got work in Cheltenham the next day. I'll bring the boxes."
Awesome.
And then he took us out for dinner. Bought us a really nice dinner, and then gave us a load of money.
Come on.
We never asked anyone for money to go and do this school. Right. And it all just came in. Like thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We saw loads of miracles. And again, that's confirmation that we were doing what Jesus asked us to do.
Right.
So, so we left and went to Mozambique to be a student. So we went primarily to just go and learn. And then eventually stayed on as part of the staff team.
Yeah.
Of the school.
The school, yeah.
So, just because this is our intro, this is an opportunity for you guys for me to just draw a little bit out of you, hopefully whet people's appetite for hearing what you guys have to bring about life and how you will look at things. How about you tell us what was the biggest learning for you guys in those experiences? If you've lived in England, you've lived in Africa, you live now in the north of England, we're in a post-Christian culture. Where we're working out how do I live the radical Christian life. So what was one of the biggest kind of learnings for you guys that you bring into what we're doing now from what you guys have experienced?
Oh, wow. Yeah, how do you sum it all up?
I know.
Yeah, I think for me personally, if I were to absolutely boil everything down, we can come up with loads of models and structures. And the thing is, following Jesus is there's some things that will look the same wherever we are, and there's some things which will look different depending on which country we're in, what culture we're in, like how that's appropriated in one sense. But the one thing which always, for me, I think was the biggest lesson that it boils down to is knowing Jesus intimately and personally. And when you know him, the expression of that will automatically overflow into the culture that you're in.
Right. You begin to define your own culture, don't you? And the culture that you find yourself in rather than be defined by it.
Yeah. And it's like you learn the language of the culture that you're in. And this is one of the things that was really profound for us. Like, you might be thinking, well, you guys have been out in Mozambique. That's great for you. What about us living in a Western context? Well, what we actually learned was to learn the language of whatever culture you go into. Because the whole point of us being in Mozambique was it was a mission school that was sending people out to every nation on the face of the planet. So you learn the language of the people that you're living amongst, and once you've learned that, you then take the actual culture of the kingdom of God and learn how to bring that in a way that other people understand.
Right.
But creating a new culture, whilst in a loving way. So it's not saying this culture is wrong or this culture is bad, but actually we've given our lives to Jesus now. So I am British, but actually, primarily, I'm a citizen of heaven.
The heavens, come on, love that. Thank you, mate. Anna, anything thoughts?
Yeah, exactly the same. Really, like just a kind of key phrase that I've always held on to since like my first kind of school in Africa, which Heidi Baker says a lot, is fruitfulness flows from intimacy, and I've done missions work. Work for Jesus abroad in different countries with different organisations that have a different culture, and have found myself, this is a long story for another time, like really burnt out when I haven't allowed myself to just really draw close to Jesus and allow the fruit to come from that place of just intimacy with him. And I've been in other places where that has been the centre of my life and the fruit has just abounded. And so kind of in my life I've seen that tried and tested when it doesn't work, when you don't have Jesus as number one and time with Jesus as your priority. to when you do, and just your life is just way more fruitful. And I guess just the simplicity of that actually it really is just about spending time with Jesus and allowing him to be that number one, and to really to fill you with everything, for Christ to be in you and you to be in Christ. Like, it's something that God's kind of challenged me, that I need greater revelation of what that means, because that's so powerful. Like, Christ is in us, and when we fully allow Christ in us and we fully die to ourselves and allow him to live through us, then our lives will be really fruitful. And it's big, but that's the Christian life.
It is. This is so exciting. I mean, even just in our 10 minutes there of back and forth, there's so much that we can dig into. We're talking about intimacy with Jesus. What does it mean to be one with Christ? How do I interpret the simple Christian life of obedience to God into my own culture, wherever I find myself? Maybe we're in a Western, post-Christian, progressive kind of society or city today. Maybe you are currently overseas, someone you're listening and watching in. How do I translate the goodness of God into where I am and reach people? Our task as missionaries. We can talk about the Bible and make sense of that for today's culture. How to make wise decisions, and that's just episode 1. Come on, guys. There's lots to go at. So guys, I just want to repeat the invitation. Get involved. You can visit us at wiselives.co.uk and leave some messages and so on. Let us know what's going on for you guys as well, how helpful this is. Follow us, please, and share the word, because this is a new show, podcast. It's new, whatever it is. Certainly new to us. So just share that with your mates and get the word going. And we will continue these conversations together in the times to come. So bless you, be blessed in Jesus' name, and we'll catch you soon.